I'll
Oh,
announce.
okay, okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. This is a podcast series, and today we are delighted to interview Ranveer, a chat with Ranveer, and he's in Manila. A student I've known for 5 years now, or 3 to 4 years actually. 2018 is when he graduated from International School of Manila. Uh, we probably connected in 2017, couple of times discussing your SAT prep plan and all of that. But it's great that you made it to your first choice school, and having finished 2 years at Wharton. Tell us, what is it like?
Yeah, so I think the really cool thing about Warden, especially, is the alumni network opportunities you have, which I've managed to capitalize on. So immediately, like my biggest highlight going to Warden was I went on a trip to San Francisco and I got to meet the CEO of LinkedIn, the CEO of Oracle, and a bunch of other cool companies. And we got to talk to them because they were Warden alumni as well. But in general, Warden has been a really good experience to like explore some business classes. I hadn't really taken business in school, so that was nice to see. But yeah, those opportunities outside of the classroom is where I've really found myself enjoying Warden.
Great. So, if you were to identify certain trends in uh, your decision making in the early days at Wharton, and then subsequently, I know you additionally loaded yourself with doing another BSc degree in computer science. Who influenced you to make such decisions, and how did you settle in with what you are planning to do now?
So I think that was primarily really based on just what I was interested in. I think I always looked up to like I always enjoyed gaming and like looking at these cool like new gadgets. So I was always interested in the tech sector. So even coming into Penn, when I got into Wharton, I knew I wanted to do a dual degree with some area in engineering. Or initially, I applied to the M&T program. I didn't get in, but I wanted to do electrical engineering because I really wanted to create my own product. So I remember the first thing I ended up doing at Penn for one of my courses was I made a electronic walking stick for blind people. And so that was like an electrical engineering project that I really enjoyed. And only later on did I realize that I was really interested in like app development and entrepreneurship. And I thought CS would be an equally as important area to study to get into that sector. So rather than just doing a business degree, I also decided to do a CS degree to
So did
sort
you
of capitalize.
did you meet advisors and sort of or seniors and get a sense of how to make this decision? Was it tough?
Yeah, so it was quite difficult just because it's tough to organize your classes so that you can get everything done on time. So I did meet with a few seniors at Penn. There was someone I knew in the Philippines who was in a dual degree program as well. So I got to talk to him and I made a 4-year plan of how I was going to approach that. So that really helped me. Once everything is laid out, you really know what direction to take.
You mentioned that you always wanted to build, and also then realized that app dev is something that you sort of are good at. Uh, what opportunities? I know Penn has that famous Penn Apps hackathon, and are those opportunities readily available, not just to Wharton students, but anyone at Penn? And
No,
what did
so
you do?
yeah, PenApps is more like engineering focused, even I'd say. Um, but when I talk about the opportunities for Penn specifically, I think it's really the amount of backing they're willing to give their students, financial backing. And it took me until now really to realize this. But Penn is like a VC in many ways for its students. They give a lot of money to help fund any business ideas you may have. So from that standpoint, if I wanted to pursue my own business idea, or I wanted to create my own app and I needed funding for marketing or something, I could pitch that idea at Penn. And there's several startup incubator programs and startup competitions where like those are the sort of opportunities I'm talking about.
Awesome. So, if you were to talk about the core curriculum and some of the classes which were beyond your CS and
Hmm.
Penn at Wharton sort of classes, were they an annoyance or they were a welcome break for you?
Yeah. So for me personally, I enjoyed them because I was very bad with business terminology, and it's very basic, to be honest. Like some courses, even you can learn just through reading a book. I hate to say it, but that is the way of like some of the courses I've taken. But I enjoyed taking them because it really made me think from more of a business standpoint. I feel like I prioritized too much of engineering before coming into Wharton. And only now do I realize that whole management aspect is equally as important, if not more. So that's where these sort of core classes like management, marketing, I absolutely loved. Like all these case examples that you hear, it's just really like insightful and it makes you think about stuff a different way.
So
So,
if you were to pick, say, two or three interesting books, influencers, authors, YouTube stars, master classes, do you have favorites?
so unfortunately, all the books I read are young adult novels. but
Right.
but there was a really good negotiations book that I read up on. I forget the name. I can like I'll go through
Sure,
it right now while
definitely.
we're talking. I'll find it.
Definitely.
Um, and right now I'm reading a book called 0 to 1, which is a
Sure.
book by
Peter
Peter
Thiel.
Thiel. So I think like I'm very interested in that sort of like the lean startup. So maybe those sort of books, you know.
Awesome. Now we'll switch gears and talk about your sort of personal strengths. If you were to pick three adjectives to define your strengths, what would those be?
Oof. So I think definitely hardworking for one. I think that's the main reason where like how I've gotten to this point at least. I never thought even in school that I was the most intelligent person in the room ever, but I consistently worked the hardest so that I could compete or achieve the same standards as those who are more intelligent than me were achieving.
Mm-hmm.
So hard work for sure. I think passion in general would be another one. When I'm really interested in a subject, I tend to do a lot better in it. Actually, I remember even in 10th grade of high school, I was recommended not to take the higher level math subject in IB because I didn't do so well in the final exam for my math class. And I wanted to do math, so I said no, and I took it anyways. And I think that was my best IB subject, and I did very well in it because I really liked it, you know. So hard work, passion, and I think discipline is another one. It kind of goes hand in hand with hard work, but I'm the type of person where if I'm doing like homework or if I'm working on something, I am willing to go straight and put like 6 to 8 hours or like even 10 hours just working straight at it, you know? Like I like to
Awesome.
work in straight
Great.
blocks.
So I've noticed that you've been very busy in university too, doing different things other than academics or even assisting uh, professors and all of that. So what do you think is your uh, main activity at Penn has been in the last, say, semester, and what do you think will be in the few years from now? Or few,
Yeah.
like, the next
So
semester?
yeah. So definitely TAing. I'm TAing a discrete mathematics course at Penn.
Mm-hmm.
And that is quite a significant chunk of my time. It's around 10 hours a week or more sometimes, maybe slightly less. It's nice though because it's really a social it's a social kind of atmosphere and it's really well run. So TAing for that class takes up quite a bit of my time. In the future, I hope that will switch more towards my own personal endeavors. So my own sort of like going to all these startup incubators or pitching my ideas to get funding, that sort of stuff. I hope that takes up a lot of my time. I will say though, there are a lot of clubs at Penn, and so a lot of people devote significant time to like interview prep or these clubs to sort of get better at traditionally consulting and finance sectors in Warden. At least there are a lot of these clubs, and so yeah, some of them are pretty cool. I was involved with one for a short period of time, but I realized it wasn't for me. But we did help consult with a Singaporean company, so that was a nice experience. But I think I realized that I really wanted to go more into entrepreneurship than consulting.
Okay, one more rapid fire question. So what goals and aspirations do you have now, and what's stopping you to achieve them?
So I think I mean, my main goal, or the goal I'd derive the most satisfaction from is actually developing a solid idea and following through with it. So pursuing a business idea. And there really isn't anything stopping me from it except laziness. I think, like, if I want to do it, I can just go ahead and do it. I have the idea right now, and so hopefully this summer I'm hoping to create an MVP. So that's what I want to do.
What about the situation though? Like you probably have extended summer. It looks like Penn has given interesting options out, scenarios playing out during this COVID sort of outbreak. Uh, so, do you think it's going to reset the way education is going to be, and not just at Penn but any university?
So, I mean, honestly, hopefully we go back on campus. I think that's the way universities should be in general. I think a lot of it is, or maybe even the most important part of uni is meeting new people face to face, developing these good relationships that you'll remember for a long time. And I feel like that's inhibited through these online classes. And I honestly feel that's the most significant benefit. I think especially for like disciplines or like subject areas like CS, if you really wanted to excel in it, you could really self-study that. You don't necessarily need a degree, I'd say, though it helps. But that whole networking aspect and like developing close friendships, I think that's really the nice part of university. So I hope it returns back to that. Regarding the present situation, I've um, I've just accepted that we'll be online for half this year at the very least, and maybe this full year. It doesn't really inhibit me in terms of like academics, to be honest. I mean, I'm just going to work at it. My sleep time is a little bit messy, but and maybe my food eating, but I feel like I was able to do it pretty well this semester, and I think a lot of us have already adjusted.
Let's go back 3 or 4 years when you were in high school and sort of preparing for college. Uh, what is it that you think worked in your case, and what advice would you give high school students applying to highly selective schools like Penn?
So my advice would be, and it's the most cliche advice that almost everyone keeps on saying, but it's to pursue something you're passionate about and to make a project out of it, or like to pursue it in general. And the reason why I say that is because in uni you'll see that like people in general become a lot more self-directed, and they want to pursue these things they're passionate about, like these job sectors they're passionate about, right? So I feel like starting on that early on. So if you're interested in finance, maybe doing some like stock research or like looking at Robinhood, like that sort of stuff. If you're interested in tech, pursuing your own business idea, CS idea. So that pursuing your own project, or like making things that you want to make, I think that really helps, because that shows the admissions officer that this is what this person can bring to us, because he or she has already done it.
Well said. I think the passion for sort of doing something audacious, something which can have an impact, even if it fails, it's still the journey worth sort of documenting. The other thing we keep talking about with our students is to present your ideas and have a strategy to present your ideas from day one. It doesn't matter if it bombs. It's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's the way you sort of talk about it, and the learning would be something you care about. Yeah, that brings me to the question: what do you think was the most embarrassing thing, say in high school or in college for you so far, or during your TA ships? And what did you learn from that, or even a failure or an embarrassment?
I think just a consistent improvement throughout my whole life, high school, college. I tend to pronounce a few words wrong on occasion. And so that always makes some people laugh in the background. And I remember in high school, it got to the point where like I had a few close friends in the class, and they all started laughing. And throughout the presentation, even I couldn't stop laughing. So that presentation went very badly. But that sort of mispronunciation of words, that sort of is a consistent embarrassment for me.
That's amazing. So it's been a pleasure connecting with you, and it's something that I'm sure our students and listeners would definitely gain from. Is there anything that you feel high school students take too seriously and they shouldn't, in this whole college readiness, college prep business?
Yeah, I don't think the interview matters that much. Uh, I also don't know how much ACT, SAT matters compared to what people think. I think it's always good to meet that sort of benchmark, like the average for a university. It's always good to meet that. But I really think that the goal of these sort of metrics is to justify the GPA you already have, or to sort of check, like, okay, this GPA isn't like accurately represents the student's academic capabilities. I honestly think extracurriculars in general, like leadership opportunities, sports, doing stuff you like, that I think represents a lot more to the school than your ACT score, because that shows what you can bring to the school.
With that, I think we'll end this session. But it's fantastic, and so it's so exciting to have caught up with you after so many years. Looking forward to following your success in the future. We do have plans to announce webinars where we'll put panels together. A few Edbrand alum who are accomplished, even unicorn level startups, with students currently in college interested in entrepreneurship. There are a few students we've worked with who have graduated from the Y Combinator class this very year,
Cool.
and happy to make those communities thrive within our network. So with that, thank you again, Ranveer. All the best.
Thank you, Uncle. All right, see you.
See you.